The true reason Caitlin Clark moved to Europe is revealed by Angel Ree. Angel Ree dispels rumors, claims that Caitlin Clark's departure was motivated by money.
Come on.
Angel Ree naturally steps in since she was unable to ensure that Caitlin Clark's European deal went through without any problems. This
fuck is that headline all about?
Yeah.
Yep,
She is the
WNBA.
worst fucking bastard.
is unlike anything we have ever seen in the WNBA. Someone who is still embroiled in her own steroid problem and is out to cause trouble decides to disparage Clark by claiming that athletes are only concerned with their profits and using race as an excuse to show sympathy. Furthermore,
About Caitlyn getting hate, but someone sat down and spent hours putting together an 8-minute video with interlude clips all to trash Angel. Why?
But when the entitled complaints are coming from Angel Reese, it makes news throughout the mainstream media.
it's clear that she is directing that toward Clark. The absurd thing is that Caitlin has never made any disparaging remarks about Ray or any other black athlete, but I believe that certain people in this day and age shouldn't have to endure silence. Blah 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 from
Blah, blah, blah. From Angel Ree.
Angel Ree. As everyone knows, Caitlin Clark is traveling to Europe for more reasons than simply testing out a new scene or landing a new career. Instead, it's about escaping the poisonous atmosphere that the WNBA has devolved into. For a player like her, who is basically destined to dominate. The WNBA may seem like a dream at first, but in actuality, it was turning into something quite different. She wasn't merely shooting baskets. She was avoiding side-eye and scandals as though it were part of her.
What players in the WNBA just can't seem to understand is, you get what you put in, and right now, you are getting exactly what you deserve.
Strategy. Why, since everyone else, including some of her own teammates, and even some well-known media figures who labeled her a racist, tried to cast her as a monster? Where do they get this stuff from? Clark, on the other hand, is a composed player who never falls for the ruse and wasted time responding to these unfounded charges. Rather, she concentrated on basketball, which is the only thing that really counts. However, the tempest that surrounded her continued to worsen, resembling a horrible reality show scenario. Then, clearly not a supporter of peace, Alyssa Thomas decided to stir the flames by openly blaming Clark for the racist insults made by her supporters. You read properly.
Yes.
Thomas concluded that Clark somehow influenced the words of unlucky onlookers.
So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana.
Absurd. That's right. By putting her resentment, jealousy, and whatever else was brewing inside into a neat little accusation package and flinging it straight at Clark, Thomas was only trying to divert attention away from her own issues. It has nothing to do with anything Clark said or did. Here's the problem.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan.
Problem, though. Caitlin didn't have to do anything improper to be singled out. The WNBA was envious of her because of the love she was getting from fans and the way her name dominated every highlight reel and headline. Nor were they merely sporadic internet trolls because they couldn't take it. Several of the players who played alongside her decided to honor her greatness instead. Angel Ree.
She had a press conference where she cried and everybody's so mean to me. Well, she's continued the stupidity. I mean, she cheered on her teammate as she shoved Caitlin Clark, knocked Caitlin Clark in the head and a bunch of other stupid...
Without a doubt, Ree had her own moment in the limelight. Let's be honest, though, Clark's rise was unrivaled, and it's clear that Angel wasn't happy about it. Ree was taking all the attention as a newbie, as if it didn't exist, and they decided to let jealousy speak for them rather than raising their game. All of Clark's actions were suddenly scrutinized. They used both hands to grasp it. Who cared, though? For this reason, Clark finds Europe to be a delightful getaway. It goes beyond simply playing in a new league with a different atmosphere. It's about breathing air free of the poisonous vapors that the WNBA had been directing at her. The ongoing drama, jealousy, and baseless allegations. Clark came to the realization that she owed no one more time from her time in that catastrophe and that it had nothing to do with basketball. However, who cares about that? Additionally, Clark is already miles ahead doing what she has always done best, letting her game speak louder than all the noise while her critics are busy igniting controversy. She is saying, I don't need to stick around for this nonsense by choosing Europe over the WNBA off-season. Because let's face it, the WNBA environment she was in had nothing to do with basketball anymore. Players and commentators were merely engaged in a feeding frenzy driven by jealousy, attempting to discredit her at every opportunity. The true crime, in their opinion, was not what she did, but rather how the world accepted her. She didn't only offer criticism, claiming that Clark's decision had little...
Honestly. And, there's no place for it, and we've been professionals throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media, and there's no place for it.
...to do with escaping the dump truck fire scenario at the WNBA. She backed up and emptied the truck. Let's stop for a second and think about if this is really about money or if Ree is just trying to hide the fact that she is in her own problem. Ree wanted everyone to understand that money was the main factor here. Yes, she believed that Clark was only out here trying to make a lot of money. Put an end to the nonsense about filthy play angels or poisonous teammates. It's all a facade, you know. Reese chose to bring Caitlin Clark down with me instead of admitting to being busted for performance enhancers because her career is in ruins and her name is still in the news because of that minor steroid scandal. Pointing fingers at someone else is far simpler than dealing with your own problems when you're that deep down the rabbit hole. They have now discovered another victim. Indiana supporters. I'm going to take a slightly different stance from these idiots. Now for the actual thing. You could cut through the irony with a knife because it is so thick, Ree continued, pass. She went all out implying that Clark and all other WNBA players are simply interested in making money. This is coming from the same athlete whose career ended after it was discovered that she had been juicing to get an edge. This deflection is classic. She is throwing charges like confetti to divert attention from herself since she is drowning in her own scandal. It's critical to keep the timeline in mind. The WNBA season was nearly ended by the time Clark was getting ready for Europe, and she was already occupied with being disparaged for her steroid suspension, with the media smearing her name for weeks. The news of Clark's European journey broke in mid-October 2024. You name it. Anabolic drugs, steroids, EPO, etc. Reese's reputation was already damaged when she made headlines for all the wrong reasons. But the way this angel is trying to make Clark seem like the greedy one is almost fun.
Oh, it's going to Caitlin Clark fans are mean. And if Caitlin Clark fans are mean and they're white, where does this head? Oh, you know it goes to racist.
However, the sports community isn't buying what Reese is selling, as pundits ranging from Patrick Bet-David to Stephen A. Smith have been making fun of her blatant hypocrisy and criticizing her for attempting to deflect attention from her steroid problem by blaming Clark and the public. Ree, who has a career that is basically in the gutter and is rumored to be facing a lifetime ban lawsuit from the Chicago Sky, has the gall to claim as though Clark is acting corruptly. Zooming out to see at the bigger picture, the WNBA world was completely upended when it was discovered that Ray had tested positive for performance enhancers in early September 2024. The Chicago Sky even threatened to sue her after her coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, was sacked for allegedly helping her. Clark was simply going about her business at the moment, ignoring warnings of debt and other issues. Clark's journey to Europe was not the catalyst for Reese's demise. I've been sexualized, threatened, and subjected to many other things. But Ree couldn't stand to watch Clark succeed. The fact that Ree has been envious of Clark's success is obvious. Let's face it. Furthermore, it's no accident that she attacked him at the exact moment. Ray's own career was in ruins, and her situation deteriorated as she chased Clark. Zooming out to see the bigger picture.
Now they found another victim. The fans of Indiana. Now, I'm going to side a little bit with these issues.
The WNBA world was completely upended when it was discovered that Ree had tested positive for performance enhancers in early September 2024. The Chicago Sky even threatened to sue her when her coach Teresa Weatherspoon was sacked for allegedly helping her. Clark was simply going about her business at the time, dealing with financial threats and other issues. Clark's journey to Europe was not the catalyst for Reese's demise. I've been sexualized, threatened, and subjected to many other things, but Ree couldn't stand to watch Clark succeed. It's evident that Ree has been envious of Clark's success. Let's face it. Furthermore, the timing of her attacks on him isn't random. The more Reese sought Clark, the worse things got for her, because her own career was in tatters. It seemed like a lifetime ago when Angel Reed was shattering records and being heralded as the next big thing. She is now more well-known for being found using steroids than for anything she accomplished while playing. A player who was once thought of as a rising talent in the WNBA, resorting to this kind of little controversy makes you wheeze.